Hello guys, I hope you're doing great. The movie starts with a truck pulls up in front of a house. The driver, Gary, gets out and walks to the back of the truck. He attaches a hook to a black car parked in the driveway. The front door of the house opens and Maddie runs out. She's wearing a bathrobe and slippers. Maddie comes out and tries to appeal to Gary's feelings as they were previously in a relationship, until she ghosted him. Her tries are ruined when a shirtless guy comes out of her house. He then hugs around Maddie's boobs and grabs her. She gives him a pleading look and bats her eyelashes. He pulls a lever and the truck lifts the car off the ground. Gary takes the car away. Despite Maddie's protest, since she's an Uber driver, she stops and watches it disappear down the street. Maddie rollerblades to catch up to Gary and stops at a nearby diner to have a coffee and a bagel. She lowers the car and puts the car in reverse and tries to pull out. Gary walks back to the truck and gets in. He pulls another lever and raises the car back. Maddie ends up on probation as a result of her actions, and she is also told she has a lot taxes to pay, so she might lose her house. Maddie also works in a bar at the Montauk Beach, where she has lived all her life. She works with her friend Sarah and hangs out with her husband Jim. Her married couple friends are perusing Craigslist, where they find an odd personal that offering a car to a woman who can date their son. Jim suggests she star in all the Vans pages. Maddie replies it would take too long. Maddie thinks date means having physical relationship, but decides to go along with it because she has no other options, since she's losing her house too. Maddie arrives at the home of the Becker family and meets the parents, Laird and Allison. They are talking about their son, Percy, who is set to go to Princeton College in fall. But he's so shy and has no friends, and he spends his days in his room playing video games. While they were hoping for someone closer to Percy's age, Maddie is tell them that she's 32. Percy is 19, though. Maddie convinces them that she is the right woman for the job, but Laird and Allison tell Maddie that Percy cannot know about that we hired you. Laird and Allison tell Maddie to find Percy working at a dog shelter. She wears a form-fitting dress to attempt to seduce him and pretends to want to adopt a dog. If you're still watching, please subscribe to our channel for more recaps. It may not a big deal, but it help us a lot. Thanks. Percy shows her a police dog named Milo that was let go from the force for becoming addicted to cocaine. Percy get nervous when Maddie get close to him and tries to leave early, but Maddie offers him a ride home after borrowing Jim's van. He mistakenly thinks that she is attempting to kidnap him, so he pulls out a can of mace and sprays her in the face. After Maddie painfully explains that she just thought he was attractive, Percy says he just wants to go on a proper date and Maddie accept it. Maddie later brings the van back to Jim and Sarah, telling them that Percy is unfuckable. In the next scene, we see Maddie and Percy sit at a table near the window. A waitress approaches their table. She knows Maddie. Maddie orders 2 Long Island iced teas, which Percy hates. A guy shows up, as he apparently used to date Maddie. He shows off his wedding ring and says that Maddie running out on him was the best thing that ever happened to him. He warns Percy not to get attached to her. Maddie later goes with Percy to the beach. While she is naked, Maddie asks him to join her. Percy take off his clothes and join her. Later, 3 drunk teens show up and steal their clothes, which contain their wallets, phones, and keys. Then Maddie get out of the sea naked, then she fight with them and take their stuffs back. Percy tells her there is something wrong with her. She starts to leave and drive away, but Percy is still naked and demands his phone back. When Maddie won't give it back, he hops onto the hood of her car, and she proceeds to drive with him hanging on. The cops see them and pursue, but Maddie fears she will lose her license if she is caught, so she drives fast and manages to run across train tracks before a train hit them. After they load the cops, she take Percy to his house. She tries to seduce him by doing a sexy dance and then has him try to do the same until she sees a rash on his back, which he attributes to anxiety. Maddie applies lotion to his back as he starts to open up about his history, including the fact that his friends and classmates used to make fun of him for sleeping in his parents' bedroom and spreading rumors that he was having sex with them. That's why he doesn't like to go out. Maddie also opens up about an embarrassing memory to Percy, and then he asks Maddie that we need to go to another date, which and she agrees. Next morning, we see a man named Khan show up at Maddie's house, and he wants to sell her house for full price. Maddie says no because she wants to keep the house. Then we see Maddie and Percy at an arcade club winning prizes. They go by the lighthouse where Percy asks Maddie to kiss her, and she let him, though he is a bit awkward with it. She also talks to him about how she never left Montauk in a state in the same house as her mom because her father gave it to them along with some money so that they wouldn't bother him in his new family. They then go to meet Percy's former nanny, an adult man named Jody. He suspects something is up with Maddie, though she just hits back that he is creepy for being a male nanny to a teenage boy. Later, Maddie and Percy go to dinner with a limo at a fancy restaurant. Maddie encourages him to play the piano after he mentions he can play. So he goes up and plays the song for the whole restaurant to hear, which earns him cheers and applause. Maddie is also equally impressed. Natalie, a girl from Percy's school, comes to them, and she says she is also going to Princeton in the fall. Natalie invites Percy to a party for other Princeton-bound students, though Maddie tries to stop him from going for fear that he will end up sleeping with Natalie or another girl despite Maddie's objections. Percy says he wants to go with Maddie in a limo to the party. Then Percy asks Maddie that I can come to town once a week while I'm going to college, or you can come. But Maddie kind of disagree with it, which is make Percy so upset and ask her, so what you want then? Then they both get on the limo going somewhere else, and when Maddie asks Percy where are we going, he tells him that we going to the party that Natalie invited me. When they arrive there, Percy get in the house, and after a while, Maddie try to find him. And she walk among snooty teenagers who think she is too old to be there and has some arguments with them, too. Maddie eventually finds Percy in bed with Natalie, but he is sick because he's been drinking and he took an ibuprofen. She goes to make him throw up until the parents of the kid that throwing the party come in to tell Maddie she has to leave. Percy tries to defend her and accidentally ends up punching Maddie in the throat after they leave. After they get to the limo, Percy says he is ready to have sex with Maddie in the limo, but after he tells her he loves her, she realizes he is too drunk and refuses to go through with it. Next day, Laird and Allison realize that Percy looked more confident, which he attributes to his new girlfriend, and Percy tell them that, I don't want to go to Princeton anymore because I want to stay with Maddie. Allison calls Maddie, who is beginning to have second thoughts about the job. Laird tells her that she can have the car without continuing the relationship to avoid Percy skipping out on Princeton. Unfortunately, Percy is in his parents' car and turns it on, activating the speaker so that he overhears their conversation by Bluetooth and hears Maddie saying that I can have the car without having sex with Percy. It made Percy so upset. Percy then invites Maddie come over for lunch to meet his parents. He starts drinking their wine and begins to act passive-aggressively before going out with his coworker to crash the car that his parents want to give it to Maddie. When Percy returns to the house, he and Maddie then decide to have sex and get it over with. But before he can even get inside her, he ends up coming on her thigh. He says that he knows about everything and doesn't want to see Maddie anymore. Now Maddie is upset. Gary later brings Maddie the beaten-up car. Since her name is on the papers, she is forced to continue her Uber duties in her messed-up car, while Percy goes back to staying in his room and playing video games. He also won't return any of Maddie's texts or calls. After Maddie finally raises enough money to fix her car and pay off her taxes, she celebrates with Jim and Sarah, but they announced to her that they are moving to Florida for the sake of their baby. Maddie gets upset when she realizes that she will be all alone. Maddie later contacts with this man and decides to take him up on his offer to sell her house. She sells it to Jim and Sarah so they can stay and raise their baby there, and she is making plans to move to California. Maddie then realizes that Percy is in another party belongs to Princeton, and then goes to find him. After she found him, he still refuses to speak to her even as she tries to explain herself. Then he tries to go with his car. Maddie hops on the hood of his car. After some argue, Percy get to the beach and throw Maddie in the sea. He get Maddie and says, I'm sorry, then they sit somewhere and talk about what they going to do. Percy tell Maddie that at last I lost my virginity, but she says no, that doesn't count. But Percy says he still counts that he lost his virginity to her despite the contrary. After a couple of days, we see Percy packs his bags and says farewell to his parents. On the day he is set to go to Princeton, Maddie shows up to drive him there before she goes to California and surprises him by showing that she adopted Milo. And in the last scene, we see them leaving the town.
This is Redo Recap Channel. Make sure you subscribe the channel if you want to see more recap of movies or series or anime. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.